Auburn dancing for the first time in 15 years, and their rival Alabama made the cut as well as a 9 seed. We've got to look ahead at who they're playing next week. Plus, over on the gridiron, both of those teams hosted Pro Day for NFL scouts. Auburn had 16 players take part in the action, while 19 athletes from the Crimson Tide showed off their skills. We take a look back at how local players from both teams measure up. March Madness is officially here. Welcome back to The Last Call. I'm your host, Justin Holbrook. Get ready for a week of nonstop action with teams you've never watched this season until now. But two teams we've been watching all year are Auburn and Alabama, and both are going dancing. Auburn gets a 4 seed, and they'll play Charleston all the way across the country in San Diego next Friday. Meanwhile, number 9 Alabama taking on 8 seed of Virginia Tech. That's Thursday in Pittsburgh. Auburn is making its first tournament appearance since 2003. While Alabama returning for the first time since 2012. That year the Tide lost in the first round. Here's Auburn after finding out where they would be playing.
Oh, it's a great feeling. You know, before I came to Auburn, that was part of my decision. I wanted to make history. Just coming to Auburn, the basketball program wasn't always what it is now, so we're starting a new tradition. I guess it's a real feeling. You know, it's just Auburn's come a long way with the basketball program, and we've all come a long way within it. So it's a great opportunity.
This is still a team that won the SEC. This is still a team that has 8 players that are all capable of playing well. Look, we had 2 or 3 guys play well against Alabama, nobody else. You can't win like that. We need the 8 guys that are out there playing to step up.
Bama and Auburn are just 2 of 8 SEC teams in the Big Dance, giving the SEC the second most teams in the tournament. Time to run it back. NFL scouts made their way to Auburn to see 16 Tigers take part in this year's Pro Day. Sports Director Brendan Robertson caught up with a few players and head coach Gus Malzahn.
Pro Day on the Plains, 16 Auburn Tigers trying to show the pro scouts they have what it takes to go from playing on Saturdays in the SEC to Sundays in the NFL. From the weight room to the practice field, players like Opelika's Stephen Roberts trying to improve their stock ahead of the NFL draft.
I think the drill work and everything went really good for me. I put up good numbers on everything, so I mean, it was just a blessing for it.
But even proven running backs like Kerryon Johnson know that it can come down to the numbers.
I was focused on the 40. Pretty much, I mean, the rest of the stuff is football. I've been playing football my whole life, running, catching, cutting, that's stuff that everybody knows how to do. So I was just working on these combine drills and put a heavy emphasis on that. And I think it really showed off or paid off, and I'm happy with it.
Safety Trey Matthews wasn't invited to the NFL Combine, so he had to make the most out of his pro day.
The day went well, man. I got a lot of feedback from different teams, and that I look like a dang linebacker, but I move like a DB, so I take that as a compliment.
Their former head coach happy to see the next group of Tigers make their NFL dreams come true.
You know, you recruit these guys, and they have a dream, and they get a chance to show these scouts what they can do. You know, I think we got a chance to have a whole lot of guys drafted, possibly more than any other year in school history since they went the 7-round draft. So very excited to watch these guys do their thing.
Now the players must wait and hope that all the hard work has paid off, and they get to hear their name called April 26th at the NFL Draft. Reporting from Auburn, Brendan Robertson, News 3 Sports, on your side.
Just before that, Wednesday was Pro Day at the school that has now become a gold mine for NFL talent, the University of Alabama. As expected, a packed house in Tuscaloosa, 80 scouts representing all 32 NFL teams were on hand. That doesn't include numerous GMs and head coaches. There you see Mike Tomlin, as well as Patriots head coach Bill Belichick. 19 Crimson Tide players participated, including former Auburn High School standout Rashaan Evans, who got high praise from his former coach.
Oh, Rashawn's been a fantastic player for us. He's always been a good person. He's been a good leader. He's always set a good example in terms of the things that he's done. Certainly was a very productive player for us in several different roles. So I can't say enough good things about, you know, what he's done in terms of his contribution to the program on and off the field.
Also on hand was former Tennessee coach Butch Jones wearing an Alabama hoodie. Wonder what that means. Reportedly, he's going to be hired on the staff. Before Selection Sunday, there was the SEC Championship. Number 4 Kentucky taking on number 2 Tennessee for the SEC tournament title. Wildcats coming off a dominating 23-point win over Alabama, going up against a Vols team that hasn't won this thing since 1979. The Wildcats don't have that problem. They've won the last 3 SEC tournaments. Second half, the Wildcats were up by 2, and now they're up by 5. Kevin Knox buries the 3. Kentucky clicking at the right time. Tennessee on the move now, trying to stay in the game. Good passing leads to this. Jordan Bone for 3. Throw me a bone. 1-point game now. Lamonte Turner, he's got a 3 of his own from way behind the arc. Bang, the Vols have the lead. But now, less than a minute to go, Kentucky up 1. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander puts on a show, and Kentucky wins their 4th straight SEC tournament title, 77-72. And I nailed that pick last week. Kentucky also beat Georgia in the tourney, and as it turns out, that game will be the last one for former head coach Mark Fox. Athletic Director Greg McCarty announced the decision to fire Fox in a statement released by the school. Georgia has received only 2 NCAA bids in Fox's tenure, losing in the first round in both 2011 and 2015. His tenure at Georgia is over, and so is the team's season. It's a rough way for the team to go out, and you know, no NIT appearance or no NCAA appearance, first time in a long time for that team. Back on the hardwood, we had the Patriots versus the Eagles. No, not the Super Bowl. For the 4th time this season, Greenville and Marion County squared off, but this time the state championship was on the line. Let's take a look back at how Greenville came away with the title. Greenville brought home its first ever state championship after dominating Marion County in the girls' 1A title game. The Lady Patriots led by double digits for most of the game, thanks in large part to senior Brittany Davis, who dropped 30 points.
We got so much talent, and the younger girls, they just stepped in. They helped me out a lot tonight. And shout out to my team, they did real good tonight. And we worked as a team, we played together. They got more ahead of them. It's only the beginning.
Davis, who's heading to play at Mississippi State next season, may be gone, but the future is bright for a team returning 8 freshmen.
This is my first one, and hopefully I get 3 more with the freshman group I got. I got 8 freshmen coming back, so I got 3 years to work with them, so I think we'll be here again next year.
Although the Patriots won both regular season games against the Lady Eagles, Marion County won the most recent matchup less than a month ago in the regional championship. All smiles and ring pops for the champs, but a tough way to end the season for Marion County after making it to their first ever state title.
These kids have given their heart and soul, their summers, their time, everything to this team and this program and to me, and this is a special group of girls that I'll always remember. This is going to be a team you don't ever forget, and we just talked about we're all staying in touch with each other. We'll know what each other's doing in 20 years from now. This group will always be close.
That's to both teams on a great season. The Columbus Lions are announcing Thursday they signed former Auburn quarterback Jeremy Johnson. Since leaving Auburn in 2016, Johnson has struggled to get looks from the NFL. He did have a tryout with the New York Giants. He was most recently on staff at Carver High School in Montgomery, but is coming to the Fountain City to play for head coach Jason Gibson and the Lions. Columbus State women in the NCAA tournament taking on number 2 Wingate Jefferson in Jefferson, Tennessee. Tied at 72 with less than 2 to go, Courtney Robertson gets the short jumper. Wingate up 2. CSU down 3 now, less than 30 seconds, and Sabria Cotton nails the tray. We're heading to overtime in the tournament. And here we have a huge play in OT. Wingate up 4. Jasmine Stephen gets the steal, races up the court, layup, and the foul. Wingate outscores CSU 15-4 in OT, and the season comes to an end for the Cougars. Still to come on the last call, Jalen Hurts wearing an Auburn jersey? Yeah, he's not transferring, but coming up, I'll tell you why the QB had to trade the crimson gear for a day in Auburn colors. Plus, the Columbus State Cougars baseball team is off to its best start in 8 years. We'll show you what's worked for the team so far and what the players say it's like to be part of this year's team. Sports Spotlight this week focuses on the Columbus State Cougars baseball team. The team is off to its best start since 2010, and they've quickly become the team to beat in the Peach Belt Conference after winning 11 straight. I caught up with the 17th ranked Cougars after their win on Friday.
Somehow the Duck made it to the locker room, and we just kind of brought it with us. And ever since then, hey, we've been playing some good ball, so we're gonna keep them around for a little bit.
Whether you credit Marvin the Duck or the players, something is working for CSU on the diamond. They've won 11 straight games with a record of 17 wins and only 2 losses.
The fight. I'm in love with the fight. We'd be down 3-4 runs, and our team just comes back and picks it back up.
Ingram leads the fight for CSU on the mound. He's 5-0 this season with an ERA of 1.54, which leads the Peach Belt Conference. Before the season started, preseason All-American Mason McClellan said there's one thing that stood out to him about this year's team.
I think we're just meshing as a team just really well right now. I mean, everybody gets along. We don't have, any selfish guys. If one guy has a bad day, somebody else is going to pick him up and vice versa.
It's a close-knit group. They really get along good together, and that started in the fall, and it's just carried over into the season. And I think depending on each other is what they do best, and lean on each other, and that's the sign of a good team.
Just 2 years ago, the Cougars had the Peach Belt's best regular season record. Although there are only 5 games into conference play, the stats look promising. For pitching, the team is second in earned run average, second most in strikeouts per game, and second fewest hits given up.
When the pitching's good, our hitters feel confident that they're going to throw up zeros, and we're going to score a lot of runs.
And there's proof to back him up. In the league, CSU is third in batting average, third in on-base percentage, and second in home runs. Only time will tell if the Cougars and Marvin the Duck can keep it up. Good for you, Marvin. Must-see video from another Auburn team tonight. Future top 10 draft pick Casey Mize, from a couple days ago on Friday. He threw a no-hitter. It's the team's first no-hitter since 2002. The Tigers lost 1 game to Northeastern yesterday, so the win streak ends at 15. They started 15-0. SEC play starts next week for the Tigers, including a 3-game homestand against number 8 Texas A&M. Well, during football season, Charles Barkley had a bet with Alabama quarterback Jalen Hurts. If Alabama beat Auburn, Sir Charles would wear a Bama jersey on his show on TNT. And if Auburn won, Hurts would wear a Tigers jersey. And guess what? He was true to his word, but he added a twist at the end. Check out what's in his backpack. It just so happens to be the national championship trophy. So yeah, they lost the Iron Bowl, but it looks like Hurts got the last laugh. Coming up on The Last Call, I got a chance to talk with Josh Vitale, an Auburn beat writer for the Opelika Auburn News, about what may help and hurt the Tigers in the tournament. That's still to come.
Going into the season, you kind of thought maybe with Austin Wiley, with Angel Purifoy, with the guys they had coming back, this could be an NCAA tournament team for the first time since 2003. And then when those guys go out and the Chuck Person news breaks in September, you kind of think, what's the season for this team? How bad could this season be? And they never quit. Just watching, this team go from having so many questions and kind of little hope to being SEC champions has been pretty interesting to see. The biggest thing will be the size, especially without Anthony McLemore. They just don't have, that much of it between Horace Spencer, Deshaun Murray, and Chuma Okeke. Those are really the only 3 bigs. The size will be an issue. They really had kind of been able to play around it. They play really fast, up tempo, which gets teams out of their rhythm. They have defended very well, and they shoot foul shots very well, which helps combat that. But they've lost 4 of 6 since Anthony went down, which is kind of an issue. So, if they are, if they do run into teams that have more size, that will give Auburn issues as it moves through the tournament. Alabama just beat them really badly in that game. But, it'd be easy to say that's probably it for this team. That's the ceiling. They might go out early in the tournament. But so many times this season, they've had those issues, they've had those problems, and they've fought back from it every time. So it'll be interesting to see if, after that Alabama loss, if they kind of reconsider some things and say, all right, we're going to go back to, having full contact practices, because I think that's going to be, a big key going into the tournament. It's going to depend on just which teams they run into. If they run to teams, like a Texas A&M that has a big size advantage, it's going to hurt Auburn. If they run into teams like themselves who are smaller but run and shoot, those are the games that Auburn likes to play. Those are the games that Auburn can be successful in. This team, it's shown a ceiling that it can absolutely win games in the NCAA tournament. It went 13-5 in a very good SEC, and it beat good teams. It beat Kentucky, beat Alabama once, it beat Tennessee. But there's also a case we made that it could lose early, just given how the season ended, losing 4 of the last 6 games. How little depth they have and how little margin for error they have. So, Auburn could go to the Elite Eight. It could lose in the first, second round. It really kind of just depends on, if the shots are falling and, which teams they run up against.
Sticking with NCAA basketball, we're going to do our picks of the week, mostly focused on March Madness. So here to join me is the last place, Jack Patterson. Jack,
I got one win. Thank you. Thank you, Virginia. I got one win.
So the way we're doing this is we're going to start with one team that's a 9 or higher that we think is going to make the Sweet 16, followed by the biggest upset in the first round, and then our personal pick. So Jack, who you got in the Sweet 16?
Going to the A10, the Atlantic 10, taking St. Bonaventure, a first 4 team, to beat UCLA, get in the tournament, and then make a run to the Sweet 16. The A10 is strong this year, so I'm going with the Bonnies.
Nothing says college basketball like the first 4 in Dayton. So for me, I'm taking the Thundering Herd. It's their first tournament appearance in 31 years, but I haven't seen anything from Wichita State that impressed me. And I also think that they can beat Bob Huggins and the West Virginia Mountaineers. So I'm taking Marshall. All right, Jack, your biggest upset in the first round is who?
This team proved a lot to me in the Big East tournament, going with Providence, a 10 seed to knock out Texas A&M, a 7 seed in the first round. I love the way they played. They really could have beaten Villanova in the final. I'm going with the Friars.
I couldn't disagree more, but I'm going to get to that in a sec. For me, I'm taking Davidson over Kentucky. They had to win their conference tournament just to get in, and they did. But Kentucky is a team that we thought about 2 months ago wasn't even going to make the tournament.
You picked this team. You know
Yeah,
this,
I
right?
picked the team to win the SEC tournament, and now I'm done with them. I'm done. Give me the Wildcats of Davidson without Steph. All right, so your personal pick, Jack, is who?
Going to the NHL, the probably only non-NCAA pick you're going to hear tonight. Going with Nashville, the leaders of the Western Conference, to beat the Atlanta Thrashers, because I refuse to call them the Winnipeg Jets.
Not only do I think you're wrong about Providence, I think you're way wrong. Give me Texas A&M. This is a team that has shown their potential all year. They've got some serious height, and I think they beat a North Carolina team that has at times been pretty streaky. So I'm taking Texas A&M over Providence and to go to the Sweet 16.
Nice.
All right, so we've got our colleagues who couldn't be here. First off, Connor, his biggest upset was New Mexico State over Clemson. That's also his Cinderella team. And then for his personal pick, he's going with Virginia Tech over Colin Sexton and Alabama.
I'm not one to talk, but he can't do any worse than he did last week. He was 0-3 last week.
And what did Brendan have?
Brendan, he also had New Mexico State to knock off Clemson. No love for Clemson.
No.
Oklahoma to go as his Cinderella, and a lot of people, myself included, didn't think they were going to make the tournament at all.
They made it.
They actually made it. And Oklahoma State somehow didn't. Okay. But that's another story. And him, like me, great minds think alike. He has St. Bonaventure to knock out UCLA in the first 4.
Everybody loves the Bonnies. All right, we're going to see how it pans out. Coming up after the break, we have got much, much more on The Last Call. The Lannett Panthers basketball team recently won their 3rd straight state title. News 3's Carlos Williams traveled to Lannett this past week to present the Panthers and their 48-year coaching legend with the Athletes of the Week award.
Well, it wasn't easy, but the Lannett Panthers, behind the play of Anquavius Pollard, MVP Emmanuel Little, and senior guard Jaron Ross, helped to lead Coach Richard Carter's team to its 3rd straight state 2A title. The players say it was a total team effort from players who consider themselves family.
Us being a collection of a brotherhood, regardless of what we did in school or what happened at practice, we remained as brothers, and our trust and faith in one another allowed us to prepare to win another state championship.
My mindset was we're still the champions from last year, and no one can stop us. So that was my motto, like just stay humble.
Meanwhile, Coach Carter says his players just outworked the competition.
We began to call this place championship high now because of what these young men have done over the past few years, not only the last 3 years, but even before that. So we're really, really proud of them and their accomplishments.
Well, what does the future hold for Lannett basketball? We were the first to get that answer from Coach Carter himself.
Well, the future is very bright for Lannett basketball. Coach Carter, they asked me if I would stay at least one more year, and I promised them that I would stay one more year until they can get things settled for the next person to come in. And following next season, it's going to be the coup de grace. I'm going to call it quits after next year.
And you better believe that Coach Carter, who is also a minister, will find some way to keep himself busy. And so we'll say good luck and congratulations to the state champion Lannett High School basketball team, our Cody Road Trophies and Jewelers Athletes of the Week. In Lannett, Alabama, I'm Carlos Williams for News 3 Sports on your side.
Championship high, I love it. We'll be right back after this.
coming downhill. I want Colin Sexton with his hands on the ball. Do or die for Bama. Must win to make the NCAA tournament. Sexton got it! He got it! He got it! Roll Tide! They did it!
Colin Sexton made his case for You Have to See This, but he comes in second to another Alabama athlete. You have to see this. Best video from this past week belongs to Alabama's Alexis Osorio. She struck out 21 batters, tying an NCAA record. But get this, she did it one day after throwing her 7th career no-hitter. So she's just an absolute machine on the mound, and the team won 7-2. Our game of the week this week pits 2 top 15 teams against each other in the SEC Open. We've got Auburn hosting Texas A&M. Looking forward to that series and to next week for our next episode of The Last Call. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm your host, Justin Holbrook.